The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. It is a hot, very hot late May day, but we are here to discuss the NBA playoffs. And we are about to enter the conference finals portion of the NBA playoffs. Me and Fresh Faces are here to talk all about it. This is our one show this week. No tweet cap at the end of this week. We'll be back at it on Tuesday. So here we go. Let's talk about the conference finals and then some. What's up, Faces?
How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. I've been really looking forward to talk about this and how we're about to talk and how we are about to unfold with the conference finals. So at this time, the conference finals are set. Your Eastern Conference Finals will be the Indiana Pacers and the Boston Celtics. And then your Western Conference Finals are the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. A little different than what we thought. Before we break down these matchups individually, what do you think of it as a whole? What do you think about the Final Four teams? A little different than we thought, especially after some insane Game 7s on Sunday.
Well, in the East, like Boston, it made sense, and like looking at it from a basketball perspective, it's better that Indiana won that game because, like, do you really want to watch the Knicks without like I don't even it? Do you want to watch the Deuce McBride led, Alex Burke led Knicks play the Celtics and get swept? Like,
You're right. I can't argue with that. That bummer, and then with the fractured hand with Brunson and the injuries going down, it's definitely more competitive than what could have been presented, and we'll definitely eulogize the Knicks shortly. But yeah, it makes sense. And these are two healthy teams, and even it looks like Porzingis can be back as early as Game 4. The Woj that Sham has reported, so it should be actually really entertaining basketball.
yeah, I think the Boston series is going to be closer than people expect. Assuming that Tyrese Halliburton keeps his customary, which it appears at least in this playoff, he has his customary game where he just decides like I'm not going to play offense. He did it at least twice in both the last two series. Assuming he keeps those relatively down, this could be competitive. They're tied right now, which like Game 1, you kind of would have expected for Boston and Dallas to kind of be blowouts simply because they played on Sunday. Like, They played a Game 7 on Sunday, and neither of these teams have played, like, I don't know, when did Boston win? Like, last Wednesday?
Yeah, when we recorded last, that's when it's been a week. They've had close to a week off.
Yeah. So, like, you would assume that, like, kind of Game 1 was a give-me game for them. And the fact that it's not bodes pretty well for Indiana.
Seriously. And then with the Timberwolves prevailing in an insane Game 7 where they were down as much as 20 points in the fourth quarter on the road, and somehow they were able to pull off this insane comeback with the thanks of insane play by Rudy Gobert, the huge game for his entire career. Anthony Edwards didn't score as much as he used to, facilitated every other style of basketball. He was getting boards, huge assists, and Karl Anthony Towns showing why he is the man too. And then just
Towns had like the perfect Towns game. Like he kept them in it in the first half and then picked up a customary dumbass foul late in the game. So like you got the entire Towns experience in that game. But like the Rudy Gobert shot, maybe the most improbable shot in NBA history. The obvious question is, like, everyone understands that as soon as Rudy Gobert hits that shot, it's over. Like, the game is over. Like, when Rudy Gobert is doing that to you, like, if you put Rudy in a gym and had him shoot that shot 100 times, I think the general consensus is he makes it less than 20 times.
And here we are when we talked about against the guy who makes the improbable shots, against the reigning MVP. And it all went to naught. This is a huge, devastating loss, I would say, for this franchise, especially on the road, especially after coming down 2-0 and bringing it back and being up 3-2 at one point, and they blew it.
No, I disagree that it's devastating. So, first off, they still have Jokic. assuming he doesn't get bored and retired, he's still the best player of them. They still have Murray, and they, Aaron Gordon was good in a couple games, but their third highest score in that game was Michael Porter Jr. was 7. Like everybody outside of Murray and Jokic let them down. I mean, obviously Jokic shot like dog shit from the 3-point line, but they're gonna tinker around with it. They'll probably bring somebody in to help them off the bench. They'll hope they'll get more out of Peyton Watson and Christian Brown over the offseason. Murray will ideally be healthy next year. Maybe Michael Porter Jr. will learn how to like dribble. And maybe like because he started the game off, he had 2 big blocks. He blocked Gobert at the rim, and I think he had another block in that game. And he carried them in a couple of those Laker games where they like were struggling, and he was carrying them. So it's not like he's immediately got to get traded like some of these other guys. Like Julius Randle's probably not going to play another game as a Knick. Josh Giddey almost certainly is not going to play another game as a member of the Thunder. Like things like that. Like Donovan Mitchell is almost certainly not playing another game as the Cavalier. Like things like that. Like it's not that in the Nuggets. They have to retool a little bit. Obviously, having an actual big that they could trust off the bench would be ideal. You can't rely on DeAndre Jordan. So there's like that. Actually, when we were talking about this a couple weeks ago about the Jokic MVP and how he's played with the least amount of All-Stars, didn't he play with Paul Millsap? Wasn't Paul Millsap in Denver with him?
I think it was if he was, I totally missed that one. Let me quickly Google that to confirm or deny. But yeah, he was Denver briefly in 2017. That's where he played.
And I don't remember if Jokic was playing that. Like obviously that's not the same point, but I mean like that's what you're talking about for his help is been like end of his career Paul Millsap and like multiple years beyond Cook, DeAndre Jordan. Like that's what it like they're fine. Maybe they have to do something dramatic next year, but like we haven't had a repeat title contender since the 17-18 Warriors. Like every year it's been a different team, and I don't think anybody has made it
for the league.
Yeah, and I mean the parity is incredible, and there's always injuries. Like you're always going to point to injuries for every title run, but like it's been good that this is the type of things that the league has. There's like anybody can win. Basically, well, not anybody, but like there's 4 or 5 title contenders easy in each conference, except the West has like 9 because it's
especially
like
after the 4 straight finals where it was the Cavaliers and Warriors and the predictability that's clearly gone now.
Right. But, and the league, so like the league is kind of in between 2 eras. So we're in between like the LeBron, Steph, KD era is kind of sunsetting. But the Giannis, we're like in the Giannis Jokic weird era where they're like the best type of players, and it's like a weird hodgepodge of stuff. But like these young guys are coming. Like Wemby's coming. He just became the first rookie since Tim Duncan to make an All NBA team. He's the youngest player to make a All First Team, All Defense. Like he's coming. The Rockets are coming. The Grizzlies are going to be back at it next year. Oklahoma City's still like every one of the teams like 12.
Ants look good in this ant movement. Even though Minnesota has to win now because they have insane cap problems, so they're all in clearly, and they're just
but like
series away from the.
It doesn't matter. He's going to get so much. I mean, he's going to get better. I imagine Jalen McDaniels is going to get like more consistent. And maybe Towns will get smarter after this. Like this team is, they're really just got to figure out how to replace a point guard because it's they just need a caretaker guy. Like Chris Paul could go there next year for like nothing, and that would make like a huge. That would be essentially they would just have a guard come like a Mike Conley type coming off the bench at all times.
Did you see that?
Get like Kyle Lowry.
Did you see that ref who came out and said in my 30 years of being an NBA ref, Chris Paul is the biggest asshole of them all?
Yeah, I have no doubt. They're also saying that he might be a Laker. Like,
finally, it
okay.
only took 12 years, and he finally made it.
I mean, it's not like at this point, yeah, he's a fine backup, but again, the problem with the Lakers is not like a point guard. Like D'Angelo Russell was fine for the season. I mean, he shit the bed in the playoffs,
Yeah,
but how much better is Chris Paul going to be in the playoffs than D'Angelo Russell? Assuming he's healthy. Like he hasn't been healthy he got hurt in the finals. I don't even they didn't make it this year. He was like hurt last year.
it's like the last 100
you
years.
yeah.
But it is insane. It was historic. It was a historic comeback what Minnesota pulled off. And we'll see that they do coming in running. It's really interesting. And
it was like a crazy game to watch. Like watching it, it didn't feel like they were in this game. Like you would look at you're like, oh, they're down 20. And then like you look at it and be like, oh, wait a minute, it's like 10. And then it was 6. And it was like, what the fuck just happened? Like It didn't feel like it. It just happened.
I know. And especially after the same day of basketball already. It was dope. It was Caldwell, and it went down the wire, and they knocked down the reigning champs.
Yeah,
entering their legitimacy.
We really are just like in an era of big guys. Like they would not have won that series if they didn't have those 3 big guys. Like you have to, like teams can't go small anymore. Like you're gonna get killed.
Yeah, and they're just facilitating the boards, and the 3 could only help so much unless you're indie, and look at where we're at now.
Yeah. So I mean there was a good series, and we don't normally get to see series like this that early. And it is very telling that like the playoffs were decided by the Spurs, like one of the worst teams in the league, because Victor Wembanyama went off for 3 minutes, and then Dante Graham hit like an absurd shot to win a game. Like that's what swapped the whole thing. Like we'd be in a very different place if they had played Minnesota had played Oklahoma City instead of Denver, because
and you give credit to Dallas. Oh yeah, give credit to Dallas running away with that. And that game 6, even though a few days it was on Saturday, well, they're able to pull off, and Luka looks fine now. I wouldn't be concerned, at least at this moment. And it was only pretty much Shea versus the entire Mavs team, and the Mavs are now back at it. And it would have been so cool to see a Luka Jokic Western Conference Finals, but maybe next time.
Well, the other thing, like, and I've been on record saying this, I think at some point Luka and Jokic are gonna play together. I don't know, like it may not be for like another 5 years or 10 years or something. It just seems like they just like seem to enjoy being around each other so much. And also that would be like fun as hell. Because like the thing with Jokic is he's never gonna age. Like the only thing that he's just going to like his body physically can't do the things that like the running in the level he does. Because it is incredible to watch him. And then every time he's like, you don't see him arguing, but he's running down the court. He looks like he's about to die. Like every time he's just like huffing and puffing, but he never stops. Like he's always moving, he's always hustling. And at some point, like he's just going to get older and it's going to be a little harder. But like none of his skills are going to degrade.
The freak of nature.
Yeah, the Dallas series, like that was. I mean, a lot of the young guys weren't ready. They weren't. Shea showed like, yeah, I could do it, but Jalen Williams didn't have a good series, and Chet wasn't great, and Giddey didn't have a good series. And the craziest thing is like Oklahoma City lost because they couldn't get rebounds, and part of that was because Gafford killed them, and they helped facilitate the trade that got Dallas Gafford. Like
insane irony on that one, but like you said, I think everyone's young, almost young. I think the average age of that Oklahoma City's teams, I think everybody's younger than 25, and
I think Shea might be 25, and then everybody else is younger.
There you go.
So Shea was on the Clippers team that pre-Kawhi.
Yeah.
So that was and they've been there for 5 years.
And they're only going up from here with more assets, with a great young coach, and there's a lot to be proud of.
I think the general consensus is they're probably going to take like Zach Edey. Like that would seem to be like a piece that they would probably look for.
From UConn, yeah.
For Purdue.
Sorry, like, Purdue. Yes.
The UConn kid might go earlier. Look, they're still super young. They have like a ton of assets, but they also don't have like a history of making a lot of trades. Like Sam Presti didn't make a lot of trades with the last iteration, and maybe this time he's a little bolder. But like I don't know where they send Josh Giddey. Like I would be interested to see that. I don't know what teams would be.
Yeah, who would actually want him, especially after losing his spot?
Because it's not like, you could play Josh Giddey. You just have to, because he's big, he's a good passer. He just can't shoot. So like if you put enough shooting around him, or you have like a stretch big and he can do like a dunker spot stuff, like maybe he'd be interesting in Indiana. Because they have enough shooting and stuff. Like maybe in Nimhard's place. But I don't know. He would be he's an interesting piece. I don't know where exactly that would end up. But yeah, Oklahoma City, they're fine. They're the youngest one seed in the league, and there's a lot of like history, like nitpicking stuff, like Jokic is overrated, no he isn't. Their title run last year didn't count. I was like again, I think their title run last year is underrated. Like
history's gonna definitely give them credit for that.
They should have been 16-2. They like the fact that the Suns won those 2 games makes it look like they had a tougher time in the finals than they did. The level the Suns had to play to win those 2 games was absurd. They should have, like, if they are 16-2, we're talking about their title team differently. Granted, they didn't repeat because it's like incredibly hard right now, but they won that title. They beat this LeBron team that went to the Eastern Conference the Western Conference Finals. They beat I don't even remember who they played in the second. Oh, it was Phoenix. The Phoenix, and they beat. I mean, the Minnesota team was injured, and then they played a Heat team, but the Heat had beaten everyone too.
Yeah, and they ran out of gas.
I mean, they weren't going to win that. They didn't have the. Bars has that that argument where he counter argued himself, where he was like arguing like, oh yeah, our guys are worse than everybody on their teams, but we're still going to win. But no, it was an incredible run last year. This is still like they still won. The Thunder won like 55 games or something.
And they're 1 seed.
They're gonna beat it.
Can't take that back.
Yeah, they took care of business during the regular season. They did pretty well in the playoffs, and they're super young, so it's not like they're not going anywhere.
They're gonna be okay. And another team with a great future, but a tough exit with the New York Knicks. And as you mentioned, it's all about the injuries, the ultimate narrative. But pretty much when it got down to that game 7, that just had a feeling that it wasn't theirs. Game 6, you can remember Josh's abdomen game. It's nice seeing OG. He pulled off a Willis Reed for a second. We just didn't win this time. And Pacers just couldn't miss, shooting 67% from the field. I think
that makes it up, like, for more than anything. The fact that they shot like the next highest is like 60%. Like it was absurd what they were shooting. Like this, what is the stat? Nimhard, McConnell, and Nesmith shot like 20 for 22 or some like insane number like that. At one, I think in the second quarter they were 22 for 29 shot attempts. Like they just hit. You can't win when the other team's hitting everything like that.
Yeah, and the only one who showed up was Dante with a 34-point game. And, well, as you said, they just ran out of gas. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think you can blame Thibodeau for, quote-unquote, running the guys out. I understand the concerns of, all the Ironmen he put out there, and he did make adjustments in the second round. But this is now up to Leon Rose to enhance the roster, get a deeper bench. So, and of course, just don't get injured. Then the next series would be a lot differently.
Like some of them are probably not like Tips' fault. Like Jalen Brunson breaking his hand is not Tips' fault.
Yeah.
Bishop Robinson like twisted his ankle, and so did Bogdan Bogdanovic. Like that's not on tip. That's just free stuff. Julius Randle went down during the season. He had like his shoulder separated or something.
Yep, against the Heat the day of the Super Bowl. I remember watching that game.
Yeah, like that's not on tips. The Josh Hart and the OG thing probably is on tips. Like the Josh Hart injury is probably on tips, but it wasn't like he had a choice. You weren't gonna play like Deuce McBride. I think the bigger issue for this Knicks team is okay, like what we do is kind of stale. Like it's Jalen Brunson running through a whole bunch of ball screens, doing a whole bunch of footwork for 20 seconds, and then, figuring something out, or somebody else gets a jump shot. Like it's not a sophisticated offense. Like you don't have guys who are going to create for themselves. Like that's where you got to get your next level. Because watching him, and also like if you're not getting the rebounds and you're not playing, like they don't have a high offensive ceiling because it's the way he plays is so slow. Like it's a very like Virginia-esque. Like when like Virginia was winning all those games in college, they would win like 40-38 because they just slowed it down and they had their defense and they just executed really well. But like if you get into a team that's going to start, a team that gets hot in the ways that, no lead is safe at this point, except apparently when Minnesota gets a 20-point lead, then you're fucked.
Yeah, right. Especially I know a lot of people complained about blowouts in the regular season, and that was just not the case here in the playoffs.
It's not even like the teams are just so fucking good. Like you go down 15 at halftime, it's like, okay. I mean, we're still in this game. What was Dallas down against against the Clippers? It was game like 3 or 4. They were down like
I want to say 28 or 30.
And they by the end of the third quarter, they were like either tied or within 1.
Yeah.
Like just shit just changes so fast. And the Knicks really don't have firepower, and I'm not entirely sure where they're getting. Like it doesn't make sense to bring in Mitchell.
No, I don't think you're going to see him there.
I don't really know how much Mikal Bridges is going to move the needle. Like I know it's like he'd be the
ultimate role. He'd be the ultimate role player addition, and then you'd probably have to give up Julius for him.
Yeah, but like, okay, how much is he going to really change your team? Like, I mean, yeah, he's like the perfect Iron Man because he played like the second most games this season. Like Buddy Hield played like 84 games this year.
Yeah, just people would complain about felt that despite playing so much that he did have a down year. But
he did. But
you would just have to
Cam Thomas as point guard. Like there was the Nets team was a disaster.
Talk about a team that's so hopeless and why they need to give up one of those guys for picks.
I like, especially like there was the report today that apparently Houston is like in a lot of trade talks to move their pick. And apparently, like, could you imagine being Brooklyn and Houston uses this pick to get fucking Mitchell? Now, I don't know what type of sense Mitchell makes on this Houston team, unless you're moving like Fred VanVleet, because you're not going to play Mitchell, Fleet, and Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and like you're too small. Like it would make sense to have Mitchell next to somebody like Thompson, but then you still have like $60 million of Dylan Brooks, and you have what did they sign? Didn't they sign Fred VanVleet for like 120? Some absurd number.
Really quick. Fred VanVleet's contract is a total of 1 second. I have it right here. We have Fred VanVleet's contract at 3 years, $128 million.
Yeah, so you still have him for $90 million over the next 2 years or something. So like, I don't know. I don't know how you get like, yeah, it'd be cool to have Mitchell, but like, why? Like, he's not the guy that would fit there.
And after another injury plagued playoffs, and who knows, I don't think it's worth it. And history now shows that infamous trade I was thinking about the other day and got reminded when we almost traded RG, Quentin Grimes, and first round picks straight up for Utah when Danny Ainge was, being a dick about it, and that wound up working out. So
yeah, I mean, it worked out more or less for both teams.
yeah.
Utah still got something. I don't know.
So
It's very weird that like the thing that um the Rockets, they need a swing guy. Like they would be like, again, if the reporting is true that Brooklyn turned down Jalen Green and a bunch of first for Mikal Bridges, because Mikal Bridges is like the ideal piece for Houston. Like they need a 3 guy because you have Sengun and Jabari Smith, and then you have whatever plethora of young point guards that you have on this team, and maybe Cam Whitmore grows into that, but like
I hope that's wrong. I mean, I don't know why Sean Marks should do that, especially as I mentioned, for a hopeless franchise. Like seriously,
especially if they're your picks.
Yeah,
like if you're getting back your picks, you should be absolutely doing that, because like you can't. First off, you can't make moves because you don't have any fucking picks. And second, like, who are you going to trade? Like, to facilitate, even if you had those picks, like, who are you bringing in
justify
that's
the
going to
Harden
help?
trade and get that stuff back, as you said. You don't. I don't know why anybody would want to be a fan or cheer this team on. I don't even think with the coach, what was it, Fernandez they're bringing in? What direction are they going? You need something to add a
I mean,
nucleus again.
this is twice in the last decade, basically the last 2 decades, they have spent, and we don't know how long this iteration will go, but they'll have spent like 3 or 4 years building an entire other team to be good. Well, they're just kind of like shit. Like they just did it with the Celtics in the early 2010s. Like that's how they ended up with Tatum and Brown, is because of because of the Nets. And now they already 1 year out from the Harden trade, like the Harden thing, like coming back to bite them. They gave up the 3rd pick. Now, granted, the 3rd pick in this draft is not like, the 3rd pick is not Scoot. It's not like Jabari Smith. It's not, trying to think. Remember, it's not the RJ Barrett type. Well, it depends on who it is. Like I think Steven Castle is going to be really fucking good. But you still have the third overall pick is still something to build around, and they just don't have that. I mean, I guess they're going to sign and trade Claxton. We are not even talking about any of the other playoff teams, but that's not the point.
Yeah. Just really quick, and then we're gonna go right into the previewing the 2 final series. But just lastly, with the Knicks, ultimately the consensus we can make is Jalen Brunson clearly needs another number 2 with him, a strong 2, and if that is sacrificing Julius Randle and some picks for that, I don't know. I've heard some people go crazy. Maybe they even trade Dante with that, which I would hope not.
I don't
The one
see why
thing,
you would.
yeah, especially with the team chemistry, and one of the things that could be your concern, if you bring in a big name, will he mess up the chemistry they have now? Because there's clearly something there. And that's
Yeah,
why
but how
maybe
much
the
of this
Wolves.
was like born from like desperation? I feel like a lot of it was just like they just kept going down. I think that was a lot of what built the current way things function.
Yeah,
And
and
also, like, the other thing is, just because you bring this team back doesn't mean you're going to be this good next year. Because Philly, assuming Philly is healthy, they're going to be better. Milwaukee is going to be better. Orlando is going to be better. They're maybe, I'm trying to think like who else. Maybe Chicago. Well, Chicago's not going to be better. They're Chicago. Maybe Atlanta's better. But there's like all these teams are going to be better. Like this was the most wide open it was going to be. And if you come in like the other thing with the Nuggets is like the West is way better this year than it was last year.
yeah, look at
Like
women. Look
everybody
at
in the
who we
West
have in
playoff
the.
made like 50 games.
Yeah, and then look at what we're gonna get a really great Western Conference series out of it. But bottom line, and we can say this for free agency shows this summer, but Knicks have a great future. Bum ending. They did end in the same spot they did last year, but you can only assume that things will get better. Now let
But you
us.
feel better because last year was kind of like, oh yeah, it was.
Oh, it was a consolation prize.
Yeah, like you weren't expected to beat Cleveland.
Nope. And then you knew you ran into a Heat team that was just much better. But now this team has a good nucleus. We'll see if they keep Hartenstein. We'll see what they do with OG. But it's a very exciting summer of moves, to keep it 100. So let's now preview the series with the Timberwolves and Mavericks right now. Two teams that are hot. It's going to be exciting to see one of these two franchises in. The Mavs haven't been there since 2011, and the Timberwolves have never been there. I think this is their only.
No, 2004. They were there in 2004.
You're talking about the Mavs?
No, the Timberwolves. 20 years since they've. I think.
Yeah. I was just saying just to make the finals in general.
Oh yeah.
Mavs won the West back in 2011, and Timberwolves, this is only their second Western Conference Finals. And this is a pretty cool series. Talk to me about some thoughts you have about this matchup and where you see this going.
I think both of these series are going to go to 6. I think the Timberwolves and Boston are going to win. Their defense is their defense is going to be more normal in this way. Like, they're not going to have to do the back line in the way that they did. The Timberwolves are going to have to do the back line in the way that they did against Denver, because they play more traditional bigs. So you can put like Cat on what's his face, on PJ Washington, and then you can have Jalen McDaniels on Luka. Now, Luka's bigger than McDaniels. Like, he's physically like wider and stronger. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Obviously it'll depend on how healthy Luka is, but I mean, their defense is still there. The question is, like, are the wings going to shoot as well for Dallas as they did against Oklahoma City? Like, PJ Washington for 2 or 3 games shot like 60% from 3-point range, which was like, he's like a 32% 3-point shooter. And similar to Derrick Jones Jr., like, they just played above their level, and it's going to come down to that. And also, like, Kyrie doing this, second half, I'm going to start carrying type of shit. Like, you can't do that with this team, because if you do that, you're going to lose the game. And I don't know, like, it's going to be different matchups. Like, who's going to guard like Cat? Like, who they don't have somebody guard. Like, Luka? You're not going to be able to hide somebody in the same way that you could hide Gafford on Giddey. So, like, you're probably going to put Derrick Jones on or PJ Washington on Ant, and then you'll have the other one guard Cat. But Ant just cooked Aaron Gordon. I think Aaron Gordon's a better defender than either of them. So we'll see. I don't know. I think this is going to be a good series because Luka is like feeling like he's got a really good understanding, and I love this kid so much. It's just he's so fun, and it's going to be. And I don't want this like to be like a negative thing, like they're like, oh, they're going to ruin it. But like, there's going to be a point where people turn on him and they're going to say he's not serious enough. But like, but he kind of is. Like, he's got it. Like, he understands where his like status is, and he understands like what he's doing. And like, yeah, he's goofy, but that's just part of his character. It's not like a negative thing. Like, he's 22 and he took his team to the conference finals. Like,
yeah, and he's a very confident man too. And he was the one confident, and he told that Nuggets staff that we'll be back for Game 7. He's there, says "Bring your ass," which I guess is the Minnesota, slogan now. He is fun to watch, and he's only getting better. And who would have thought? We talked about that Adam Sandler movie where Ant plays the villain.
Yeah,
and look at him now. Pretty good acting.
He's not like, nobody views him as a villain. Like, he is like almost universally beloved by like
in real life.
Like,
definitely.
Again, the villain thing, the reason the villain thing to me was weird was, 1, because he wanted another pick, and 2, just the entire premise of it was so weird that, like, yeah, this guy isn't as good as the number 2 pick in the draft, but like, who else isn't as good as the number 2 pick in the draft? Literally everybody else in the draft. That's why they're the number 2 pick. Like, it was just a weird premise. in general.
Is there a player from the past that you could compare Ant to?
I think the evolutionary D Wade stuff, he's the these guys come around like every decade where it's this like super athletic shooting guard with just this like alpha mentality, like this is the Jordan, the Kobe, the D Wade. Now, obviously, like he hasn't, we can't compare him to these guys yet because he hasn't won at that level. But like that's like the what it was. Like that's where it is. Like that's what you think about. Like when he splits a defense, when he splits that double and he goes to the rim, it's like he is so fucking fast. It is unbelievable to watch. And he's just like unbelievable. Just he's so unbelievably athletic. And his shooting has gotten so much better. Like that, whatever he did to shoot needs to they need to lock Jalen McDaniels in a room and make him practice those shots. But that, and now he's going to play for the Olympic team. Like this kid is only going to get better.
So you really think a lot of people have said that this is going to be the guy as the face of the NBA, especially when Curry and LeBron going to the sunset.
He's going to be he's the American face because it's not Tatum. He just
he's
people
too boring.
Kind of pass up. Well, maybe if he wins, like if they win the title, it might be Tatum.
Ooh, that'd be the significance of that finals then if we get a Minnesota and Boston series.
But like it's not Booker because Ant like equivocally said like it's not you. Like that was pretty clear in that series. Like that the way that series went on, it's very clear it's not Booker. It may be Ja, but it's like Ant. Ant seems to be the guy. And it's not to say like somebody's not gonna pop in the next like couple years that, but like, again, think about all the best players. Jokic, Giannis, Embiid, all four. Wemby, French. Sengun is from some Eastern European country.
I'm not sure.
I mean, Cooper Flag is coming next year. So maybe he's in that mix for like an American, but like it's an American, we got Luka is from whatever fucking country he is. Like it's Latvia? Not like Latvia, something like one of those Slavic countries.
Let me make sure so I don't upset anybody. Luka is from Slovenia.
Yeah, but like Ant is like because he's got like the charisma that other guys don't have. Like Tatum doesn't have this level of charisma.
Yeah.
Booker's kind of like nobody cares.
Like, he's very don't like he's Booker. Very like he's just very vanilla there. Keeps himself, dates people nobody likes.
They're the front defense. Runner. They got their heart ripped out by Dallas. I mean, maybe Tyrese Halliburton's in that mix. I think if Mathurin was better, I think he would be in that mix as well because I think he's one of those guys who's just like got that in him. Tyrese Maxey's probably in that mix, but it's never going to work until he's like not with Embiid. But yeah, it's Jalen Brunson. I think that's more just like a New York thing. Like they would have to win a title for it to be like Jalen Brunson's the best part. Like he's, a top 20, 15 player, but nobody's like, Jalen Brunson's the best player.
Yeah, I know that is the national conversation. People just don't want to talk about the Knicks.
And it's not even that. No, like this isn't even Nick bias. He's like unequivocally not on that.
Oh, of course. I know he mostly is just a shooter at the end of the day, and he needs to get some of those other. He could be consistent with assists. Doesn't really get too many boards. Can't get more turnovers, but he's definitely a ceiling's high for him.
Right. He's the best Knicks since Ewing. Certainly
the most. I think that's fair. And especially if he could get a all NBA team this year. If he could at least get a second team, that makes you a top 10 player by default. So that's what we hope. And so Minnesota, you see Minnesota taking it in 6. And say Dallas does lose. Could this be a step back? You think Luka might be tired of it? They have to figure out to enhance this roster.
I don't even.
is there a lot of pressure? I'm saying with Dallas if they lose this. Jason Kidd, anything to point out here?
No, I think he's gonna be resigned. Because I think the Lakers will look at him. Um, the I think it depends. Like if they get blown out and they like lose in like a really embarrassing fashion, maybe there's a conversation to be had about something. But I don't think so. I think this may just be kind of like, okay, we'll go at it again, and we'll be able to get it next year. We'll tinker around the edges because it depends on like maybe a full year with PJ Washington will change things. Maybe they trade, Hardaway. And what happened to Jaden Hardaway? Like he was supposed to be good, and he was like popping a little bit, and then just like nothing. Maybe Josh Green gets a little better. Like there are like little around the edge stuff that they can do. But other than that, I don't know. It really depends how the series goes. I don't know. Like this was probably the best season they could hope for. Maybe Kyrie, gets mad about something. I'm going to be honest. I cannot believe that we did not get a Kyrie getting involved with some political statement about Gaza. Just absolutely mind blowing.
Maybe he learned. Maybe he.
Yeah, maybe he turned a corner.
Maybe he just.
But we had the last 7 years of like proof that he did. So like,
and just leaving Brooklyn and becoming this. I won't say saint, but just not a troublemaker, if you will. And look at what it's resulted. He's playing in the he's playing in the Western Conference Finals. And can you just go in a little more detail about the Celtics and Pacers one more time for us, please?
Yeah. So, first off, Obi Toppin's fucking terrible. Like, I think he might be playing better tonight, but I swear to God, I think I only saw him score like one free throw the entire series against the Knicks. Like he just
had a great game one, and then that was pretty much it.
And I'm sure he scored when they won by like 100 points, simply because everybody scored in that game. But I don't know. This Pacers team doesn't stop moving. They got a lot of movement. They shoot really well. They're really well coached. They have a really good understanding of what they want to do. Assuming Halliburton's aggressive, they're not going to get blown out. Miles Turner was excellent.
Oh yeah, huge, very underrated asset in the entire series.
Yeah, he had a couple like truly devastating blocks. Now, if obviously they do have the advantage of being younger. Like Boston's going to have a little bit of problems. Like they're kind of hoping Horford holds up till whenever it is that Porzingis is supposed to come back, assuming Porzingis comes back healthy.
They say game 4 if would be the earliest.
Okay, so that's assuming he's going to be healthy. So then you're kind of relying on Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman. Like I don't, Boston's better. They're just a better team. It's just not like, oh yeah, they should just sweep them better. Like it's gonna be close, and there'll probably be, there's gonna be a game where the Pacers shoot like a jillion percentages again. And there'll probably be a game where Boston's fourth quarter offense looks like absolute dog shit. But I don't know. I think this probably goes 6. I think it's closer than people think it is. I think this Pacers team has to worry about not being that Hawks team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago. Simply because like, you kind of got there through injuries. And I mean they're kind of young, so it's not like they really can, they can hope for internal improvement, but windows close fast, man.
Like, yes,
they may be a playing team. Well, not in the East as much, because I don't know like who's gonna hop them. They're the top 4 are probably going to be some combination of Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, and the Knicks, and then they'll be, right up there.
They're scrappy like though. They are scrappy. And give one thing I will say, Carlisle outcoached Thibs towards the end of the series. And
Carlisle's a better coach.
Yeah, and he's a champ.
He just is a better coach.
He's a former champ for a reason. It'd be interesting if you somehow got Indy and Dallas, him against his other team. And I can't think. I think no one has won with 2 different franchises since Phil Jackson. So he would have a top 10 coach of all time argument legacy on the line if he could pull this off. But even just getting in the finals would be big. But yeah, just watch out for Indy. A lot of people didn't expect that he'd knock out the Knicks, and look at where they are now. And going into the fourth, just down by 1 against Boston, just 2 days after a game 7. Gotta give a lot of credit to them. Really do.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to talk about before we sign off here. You talked about the Lakers really quick and their head coaching situation. There's a report that came out from Shams today about JJ Redick. And the quote here from Shams is, quote, league-wide, Redick, a former player and media analyst, has garnered buzz for the position where he would be the Lakers head coach. The Lakers are allegedly infatuated with Redick's potential, according to league sources, viewing him as a Pat Riley-like coaching prospect who could both help the franchise in the short term and lead it for years. JJ Redick, clearly a lot of buzz, did not secure the Hornets job, but we see him doing his podcast with LeBron. Do you expect the Los Angeles Lakers to hire JJ Redick as their next head coach? And do you think it would be a good move if they did?
I think they should hire Borrego. I think the problem with hiring JJ is how do you what type of influence is he going to wield? The dude is doing a podcast with LeBron.
That was his interview.
Yeah, that's such a weird way for him to get this job, and I don't really know how other guys trust him in the same way or listen to him in the same way. And I'm assuming LeBron, how do you look at this and say, in this Lakers franchise, and say, yeah, this guy's going to be here forever? It's you don't even know if LeBron's going to be here forever.
I guess.
What if he gets hired and they suck next year? They got healthy seasons out of LeBron and AD, and they were a playing team. Next year, Memphis is healthy. Houston is probably going to be better. San Antonio is probably going to be better. The Kings are probably going to be just as good, if not better. I don't know if the Warriors are probably going to take a step back.
Yeah, you'd think.
But other than that, what are you going to do that's going to change? I don't know. The coach isn't the issue with this team. They're just too old. They're just not going to be able to do it. I don't know. I think it would be a mistake for him to obviously taking this job is great for his resume and stuff. I think it would just be a weird thing. If they used to think the same thing about Luke Walton.
Yeah.
And, he's not coaching anymore.
Yeah, I think he's an assistant now and somehow try to get some glory back. Did lead that insane winning streak with the Warriors, but yeah, I know he was definitely very sought after, and it just didn't pan out, and didn't work out with the Kings after that. Interesting stuff.
And it's not to say that JJ can't be a good coach, because I think he and Chauncey are both going to be good coaches, because I really like them as players.
He's an insane basketball IQ. He is interesting, and I value his opinion.
But I think it's a weird position. I think something like the Hornets job would have been better for him. Or a weird rebuilding. I think if he's not this time, he's probably the Pistons next coach. I don't know. If the Pistons are bad next year, Monty's not going to be the coach.
Ultimately, you see him. He needs to take over a team that is rebuilding and a young team instead of.
I think, especially as a first-time coach, I think it's a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I think as a Lakers, the pressure, especially for a LeBron team, and being his podcast co-host, it's going to be weird. I think it's just too weird. Now, I could be wrong, and he could be great. I just think it's it would be very weird if suddenly you were kind of my boss, but I kind of had the power to fire you if I got pissed off enough.
And maybe they use this as a move to keep LeBron to the Lakers franchise.
I think he's probably going to stay.
Yeah, no team really wants him realistically.
Huh?
I don't think deep down a lot of teams really were sought after LeBron like that.
I think 28 teams would jump at the chance of him.
For the chance of publicity-wise, even if you're not close.
I think outside of San Antonio, I think literally any if LeBron said he was signing with the Knicks, you would not be saying, "Oh yeah, we don't want LeBron."
I will go on the record. I will talk about my disappointment with that. I was on the record I didn't want Giancarlo Stanton for the Yankees, and his Yankee tenure has been very mid. But I won't say at that point, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'll say that. But I guess, with JJ Redick, people saw him shut up Stephen A on First Take. He's clearly could be very, very confrontational. That could be as a
but
coach
it's not
like
just,
that.
It's not just knowing X's and O's.
Yeah.
You gotta manage egos and stuff. And you gotta come in and know that you're always going to be the fall guy. It's never gonna be LeBron.
Nope. But if we will say, if JJ Redick does get hired, we really can make more jokes about LeBron's influence on these teams, because it'll be his decision with that. And it is hilarious. It'll be just hilarious. But accomplished a lot today. I'll see you next week for an update with the conference finals. And then we'll go from there. Great work, Faces, and we'll see you soon.